And then there's a bunch of definition of types of signs. I'm not going to go through them, but essentially, the point of this approach to signs is that rather than treating them sort of as an annoyance from a design standpoint, it suggests a whole bunch of choices of kinds of signs that reinforce the kinds of pedestrian-oriented places that you're trying to make. So it's a bunch of kinds of signs that are often not highlighted in sign ordinances that are just very effective ways of getting, if you're in business, effective ways of getting your name in front of the customer in these kinds of places to help improve the design of the place and provide you with the identity that you need to have a successful business. And finally, we've defined the idealized street reconstruction or street improvements for some of the streets over time to try to get medians. Right now, where you have just left turn lanes striped down the middle of some of the big streets, as funding might become available through grants or other mechanisms. It's just suggestions about where you might be able to insert landscape into the middle of some of those streets to start make them feel greener and more comfortable, cut the wind a little bit, and we've done those for several different streets. And these public frontage types are essentially, this is that kit of parts I was mentioning that the Public Works Department could use to help them think about how they could go in and add some landscape or widen sidewalks or add crosswalks into the streets as the place starts to become more lived in, to help both attract and reinforce new investment that's coming in. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, sure. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions?
Actually, I do. I was hoping that you, first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. It's very informative, and I know that it's very obvious a lot of work and effort went into preparing this. You had mentioned at one point that there had been community meetings.
Yes.
So if you could share a little bit more about what that process looked like, about how many meetings and how many participants and from where?
Yes. Well, there's sort of two parts to that answer. One is that there was a separate effort prior to this, which was a conceptual plan for the Southeast Transit Village Planning Area, which is basically south of Lancaster Boulevard and east of the tracks, and north of J and east of Division, west of Division.
Okay.
Okay. And we did that a couple of years ago, and we had, I don't know, 2 or 3 for the STVPA. We had like 2 or 3 community workshops.
Yes.
And we also had stakeholder interviews where we had one-on-one interviews with quite a few people who own the little industrial businesses in that area. We met with them a lot of times, and got a good, it was very enjoyable for us. I think they enjoyed it too, but well, we sure did, because they were very clear about their interest in both retaining the success they have now, but also having the opportunity to expand or relocate their business over time. For instance, there's a few of those businesses that are in the area pretty close to the train station where in the future probably the highest and best use of that would be transit-oriented housing or office. And we spoke with quite a few of those property owners, and they said, well, you know, we're not looking to change what we're doing with our land right now, but if there's something better we can do with it in 5 or 10 years, we'd love to do that. And then, you know, we'd move our muffler shop, you know, a little farther away. So we had those conversations a lot, and that was the basis of the land use plan for that piece. And we've also had workshops where quite a few residents of the neighborhood to the southwest south of downtown neighborhood have come in and shared their thoughts and feelings with us mainly about density and how they don't want inappropriately large buildings to have a negative effect on their property, and also a lot of discussion about how what they see the front yards should look like, what kinds of fences they like and don't like. Yeah, so we've had, I don't know, altogether probably, I don't know, 8 or 10.
Yeah, I would estimate that's probably correct. We had quite an active amount of input from the business owners that are out in what we refer to as the Herald Tract.
Right.
And you know, the attempt of the plan here is to retain those viable businesses because they're valuable from
Yes.
employment, you know, revenue standpoints. But as David indicated, you know, they're looking in the long term too. If they want to relocate or something, they want to make sure their property can be valuable for something else also. And I think they started out kind of a little suspicious of why we were suddenly interested in their area, and at the end of it, I think they were extremely pleased that they had the opportunity to give the input, and that's been carried over into the same list of code.
Because those industrial lots, I mean, the whole place was lotted for houses, and then at some point the decision was made that the use on that southerly portion would be industrial. But those, if you look at them, the lots are 50 by 100 and they have alleys, so that it was sort of always set up for housing. And as people grow and as those businesses grow, then they'll probably relocate to somewhere that just has larger lots. But in the meantime, the regulations allow them to continue doing exactly what they're doing and thrive right where they are. And if they want to do something bigger and fancier later, and then their property can be sold for some future valuable uses as well.
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
Well, I was just curious, so with the planned, the potential growth in both residential as well as commercial.
Yes.
Have the streets, or has there been consideration given to the flow of traffic and the number of trucks and the amount of cars and all of that?
Well, yes and no. There hasn't been. It's not a project in that sense. It's essentially reshaping the zoning that's already there.
Right.
So there hasn't been a detailed traffic study of like turning movements of trucks and stuff. But we have had throughout this a consulting transportation engineer who's been part of our team, and the city's public works and traffic folks we have worked very closely with to make sure that the typologies of streets here are gauged to handle the expected amounts of traffic. And I would think that before any significant changes were actually made to the design of individual streets or prior to the construction of any significant development projects, there would be further analysis of that to make sure that it worked.
Thank you.
The code part is not included in our packages.
I think you just got this little PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, it'll be provided to you via the link and the copy of that, so you can see that in detail.
Okay.
The intention of this presentation was really just to sort of give you a preview of it, so that when you're reading the details of it, you hopefully if we've done this right, you would have sort of the high-level view of what it's trying to do before you get bogged down in, you know, how many stories of this and how many feet of setback of that. You know, so this was sort of what are we trying to make here? And then the code is sort of trying to be the recipe for making that sort of one project at a time.
Yeah, I will be sending out the code, and you'll just take your time to look it over, and any comments you have, just let us know. And by the time we come to the next meeting, if you guys need any more time, that's fine. Or if you're ready to make a recommendation to the Planning Commission for adoption, that's what we can do for next month. So just take your time. Let us know if you have any questions.
Is this available to the public online as well?
It will be, yes.
It will be.
Okay. Possibly next week, I'm not sure.
So it'll just be on this.
can send it to you.
Any other questions? Commissioners? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
We
Yes, Commissioner Bartlett, you can ask for any public input on this item. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes if they wish to give it. But
Okay. Is there any public input on this particular project?
So anybody, any place, if you could be living in one place and somebody put something in change.
Excuse,
You're welcome to
Excuse me.
speak for 3 minutes. You can come up to the podium and you'll have 3 minutes.
I mean, I don't understand how something
no,
like this.
ma'am,
Yeah.
come to the podium. You have 3 minutes to speak your comments to the commission, please.
I mean, what this is doing is it's putting something in place of another thing, right? Like in an area, like say where I live, it could be, something else could be not even at my place, but somewhere else, and it could be everything that's going on at my place, or at the other place could be in turn being said what's going on at my house, right? Is that right?
Do you live in the transit-oriented district?
Obviously, I could be.
Then if you did, then this would affect you.
Okay, so is this the plan for everywhere?
It's for the specific area that was discussed.
What do you mean the specific area?
Did you
Well,
watch
know,
the
I mean,
presentation?
I know, you all these things that they say, oh, they're completing this and they're building this, roadway in this area, and then you go over there and there's nothing there, There's nothing built over in that area. So that's why a lot of people are wondering, where's this power plant going? Where's this, where's this school actually at? Where's this, all these other things where accidents happen, where all this, and it can be put anywhere, right?
This is for a designated
That's
specified
crazy.
area.
Well, I don't think it's right. I mean, how would anybody even know what's going on at any given time? You'd wonder why things are happening. I wonder why people, think they're crazy or whatever for why things are going on, why they're being taxed for things, why they're being, charged for things, why they end up at the hospital. I mean, how can this be okay? Who knows who's doing what and who's paying for what and who? Does anybody have an answer?
These are meant to be improvements to areas that already
Improvements?
exist.
For when?
Excuse me, I listened to you speak. It's your turn to listen to me.
No, I've been
So
having to
it's-
put up with
it's-
everybody's crap all this time.
It's not about crap.
No,
It's about trying to improve the people that already live there. And if there
Or
is
only
a
people that
different
have some
building
kind of-
that's built, it's because the owners of that building have started making a difference. We're not coming in, we're
The
not
owners
trying
of
to
the
take
building,
away
what if
from
they owned the
anybody.
property before the building was there? Does the person who puts the building there now become the owner of the property?
That's usually what happens when somebody builds a building, when they buy a lot and when they start building.
So if you put something there, it could not even be that particular place. It could be a different place, right?
We're talking about this specific area because a large portion of that is in industrial lots.
Of what? Which is the parking zones now, or what? What do you mean? It could be an industrial lot one way and a housing tract in another, right?
When you get to look at the presentation up close, I know the maps are really hard to see from that far away,
Right.
but you can see the specific
No, I
places.
can see it. You can turn it any way. I can see the map.
You're welcome to check out the website and the link he's going to send you, and you can
Okay,
do
well,
your
I-
research.
It's not, I mean, but do other people know about it? I mean, can you put it on something?
It's
so that-
public notice.
Where? How? Just by saying that it's in one thing? A lot of people don't understand what's going on.
You're welcome to check out the link that he's
why
going to
isn't
send
it-
to you, and you can review it, and then I think you'll have a better idea of what this is.
I have a really good idea of what it is.
Okay.
Is it area so that you can hide certain things so not everybody knows what's going on?
Okay.
So-
Thank you.
I don't.
Do we have any speaker cards? No?
No, Ms.
Okay. So we'll move on to public business from the floor. Non-agendized items. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the commission on any subject regarding city business. Under state legislation, no action can be taken on non-agenda items. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the commission regarding items not specifically referenced on the agenda. Please complete a speaker card for the recording secretary. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each.
I have no speakers cards, Ms. Chairman Bartlett.
I move that we adjourn this meeting to Thursday, March 6th at 5 p.m. All in favor?
I'll second, and all in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Welcome to Double Net Zero Home. This is first in the Antelope Valley. It's actually a first for KB Home, and it's one of the first in the country. So we're very excited to unveil this home today. This home has not only net energy, but at zero, so it actually produces more energy than it uses, but it actually captures the water, the vital water we use to bathe ourselves, to brush our teeth, to wash our clothes, recycles that and irrigates all this irrigation and landscaping you see behind us. It actually, with a family of 4, would generate more gray water than this landscaping would actually take. I wanted to take a second and introduce some very special people for us. First and foremost, our Mayor R.X. Paris. Our City of Lancaster Council Member, Sandra Johnson. David Hochschild from California Energy Commission, Commissioner. George Minter, Senior Director of Policy and Environment for Southern California Gas. And LaQuinn Nguyen with the State of California New Solar Homes Partnership. I also know in our audience we have some of our board members from the Antelope Valley East Kern, our appointed board members. I want to thank you all for attending. We will be doing a tour later, so we're going to be able to go through every detail of the home. So I want to start out in bringing one of the most dynamic speakers that I always seem to have to follow, but I love his energy, his passion for